I'm here with Raymond St-Jean, the director and co-writer of DUSK for a Hitman. The first thing that struck me about this movie, because this is essentially a biopic based on a real person, but you had opening titles that I really respected that it was there. Because a lot of times you'll see at the beginning of movies like this, it says based on a true story, and I think the audience a lot of the time says, "Oh, this is based on a true story. Everything is fact." But you kind of, at least what I got from it was it's based on real stuff, but this is also a movie, so keep that in mind. What was kind of the idea or process of having the movie even open like that?
Oh, that's an interesting question. First, well, I, I, I mean, I've gone with a simpler title, but there was a legal reason at the time. There's still a family alive, and uh, so we wanted to make it clear that we took liberties with the story, as much as possible. And I think even if you only write this movie is inspired by a true story, you always take a lot of liberty. So I think what you see at the end, there were legal reasons, but I think I'm happy with it at the end, because I think the audience always often thinks that what they see is real, and they take it as granted, And in most biopics, when you do a little research, you see that the screenwriters and the directors often take a lot of liberties with the real story for good reasons, because you're making a movie and it's a fiction. We have to difference between documentaries, of course, and fiction. And when you do a fiction from inspired by true events, you must do these things, but if you don't say it, people will think, won't think, will see it as real. So maybe this should always be, maybe there should always be a very serious card at the beginning, a very serious statement that says that, yeah, you took liberties with the story.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. We watched that movie, and it was one of my favorite movies of the year. But Holy Spider, they like completely created a character, and that character is instrumental in, not to give it away here, but they're
Yeah.
instrumental in affecting the story. And then when you have based on a true story at the beginning, it's like, oh, well, this is how it happened. It's like, oh, no, it wasn't at all. But
Yeah.
like, what's kind of the responsibility of a filmmaker? Like in
Yeah.
a documentary, obviously you want to be as true as possible, but when making a feature length, you
Yeah.
have carte blanche, I guess.
Yeah, well, yes, we have, and of course, no one from he wasn't involved in the process, and we did this on our own. So they weren't there to judge the screenplay or give their opinion, or it's not from a book that was written about him. Also, we worked from archives, newspaper archives, interviews at the time, and some books. But that said, we still are true to the line of events. All the things that happened in the movie were modified, but happened. Like the character is asked to kill. In real life, it was an in-law, but we just choose to make him a different character, so it's more engaging, involving, and a difficult decision for Donald. But something similar happened in real life, and that event just made things happen afterwards. He was on a list. He was on a hit list of his boss after that. After having taken this decision, so and his family, the real Donald had many kids, but we decided to make up a child for different reasons, to protect the family, but also to just to serve our purpose, so yeah.
Yeah, and also you co-wrote this with, if I'm getting the name correctly, Martin Gerard.
Yeah.
I know what writing by myself is like. It's very easy. I just sit there and just start typing away. What's a co-writing process like, at least with you and Martin?
Yeah, well, Martin and I, we started working. We just we wrote another script since, and I'll be shooting it this summer. Uh, and each time we go the same way. First, we talk a lot. We spend we may spend on Dusk. We spend a couple of months, maybe 3 months, just meeting twice, 3 times a week, talking an hour, just doing ping pong with ideas. Of course, we had this some source material. We knew the story of the night, but still, we worked a lot just by talking, and after a while, we try to write the beats of the story. The usual. Technique you use in screenwriting, and from there, Martin takes the big part, the big writing job. He goes away, he writes a scene, 2 scenes, 3 scenes. Then we talk about it. I may rewrite some dialogues, and again, we go back and forth with the scenes. And but the main effort of writing is, maybe, I guess, is like you. It's pretty easy for him, and writing for me is very difficult. I'm not a screenwriter, so I guess, yeah, I think that the main part, the main effort is made by the physical and mental effort of writing is made by Martin, but we spend so much time working together, and we spring ideas from one another so often that at the end we don't even know who wrote what or where does it come from and who got this idea, and it's teamwork.
And when you go to, so you got the screenplay done, and I'm guessing it's pretty polished at that point since you two are going back and forth. Like, is there any sort of rewriting that happens on the day, like when you're shooting it, like, oh, we probably need a line here. We didn't think of that, or is there anything
Yeah.
like that, or is it just pretty locked in once you start shooting?
Depends, I would say. With the Dusk, since uh, Donald Lavoie, Eric Bruno was so involved in the film. He's in every scene of the film. We had a long prep time with him. I took almost a year with him. We met regularly, and we discussed every line. It doesn't mean we change anything, but little things here and there, and he has to. So and then on the set, no, actually, no, we didn't change much. We write so much. Here the movies are state funded, so we have all this process of juries and you may go through, I don't know, 3 4 juries before getting the financement of the film. So each time, you meet these committees and they give you notes and you do whatever you want with them. But we always, it doesn't happen from one day to another. It's a long process and with many people involved. So when you start shooting, usually your screenplay is pretty much, it's tuned. You don't have to do much with it on the set.
I'm not very familiar with the state funded art because I live in America and we don't care
Yeah.
about that apparently. But what's that process like uh with you? Because that just sounds interesting as hell.
Well, it's a bit complicated. There are a few institutions that finance. The federal government gives some money, and provincial government gives some money. And but you work with a producer, you work with a distributor, you develop the project, and you go in front of juries, and there's an analysis that's done, and you go away, you don't have the money, you come back. It's a long process. It's complicated. It's like getting grants from any organization. You have to build a dossier, build a project, make it solid. When it's solid, you may have it financed, but money is limited, and there are many production wants money. So each year's, there may be 80 projects that want that try to be financed, and only 10, 12, 15 get money. So it's a harsh process, but I guess it's at the end it's the same. I guess in the U.S., even if it's private, many people want to make films but don't get their movie financed anyway. So it's a different process. But the key thing is that we have such a small audience. Let's take Quebec. We're 10 million, approximately 10 million people, little population. So you cannot have a living cinematic industry in with such a small population. So the idea at first was okay, we're a small population, but we still can tell our stories. We want to tell our stories. You know, how do we do that? And it's impossible on a strictly private financial funding system. You know, if a movie costs $6-7 million to make, if it does a million point five in the box office, that's good. So no company would be able to survive in such a system. You know, so that's a choice our society made at one point. You know, okay, we'll finance the cultural industries so they can live simply because of the lack of audience, you know.
Is there any sort of like censorship or like oh we'll make these type of movies but not these type of movies that involves that, or is it just kind of like they just look at the project as a whole, like you seem like you know what you're doing, yeah, we'll go ahead and fund that.
Yeah, well, like I said, you know, it's not only the screenplay, but there's a producer, there's a budget, there's a company with a past, you know, who made other films before. You know, it's not anybody who can come in
Okay.
and and present and try to finance film. So as far as you, well, I would say some people would say, yeah, since my film wasn't financed, you know, they don't want to do that type of film. But from my perspective, from you know, when I watch the movies that were financed since 2020, it's very diversified, you know. And you have gangster movies, you have comedies, you have any type of. So they try to aim at a variety of film genre, and also directors. They help. They there were some programs helping women director to start working, and this has produced many good directors. You know, we have in Quebec now at least 10-15 very good young women directing movies that are shining on the world scene. You know, Sophie Dupuis, and I can name a few. So you have, I think it's the no, well, no, everyone is not happy with it, and there are still always places for improvement. But overall, I think the system works pretty well.
Yeah, well, that sounds great to me. I guess last question, we have a what's in the box segment. We have a box with a bunch of movies in it, and we pull one out each week to watch it for the following week. We like to have people put movies in the box, and these are movies that are either personal to you or a movie that's like that movie's really good and no one talks about it. What's a movie you would like to put in the box?
These questions are so tough, so tough, so tough, so tough. Well, the only one that comes to mind is Michael Mann's Thief. You know, I think
Oh, that's a good one.
it's in line with our movies, and it's a movie I love so much. You know, it's one of my top 10 movies of all time. You know, the craft from everyone on this film is so amazing. You know, it's a great film. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thief.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Dust for a Hitman will be available in theaters, on demand, and digital on April 19th. And Raymond, thanks for joining me and congratulations, because yeah, it's a really good Hitman movie. And a lot more considered than I thought it would be. And I'm glad to talk to you and congratulations.
Thank you. Hope my English was good enough for you.
It's better than my French, I guess. So
Thanks.
thank you much.